Houston, I think we have a problem. All these years, I thought I was just Miss Environmentalist, or a good steward. I never really thought of myself as a tightwad, but mm, yeah, I make peat pots out of toilet paper rolls. These little tables that you get on when you order a pizza, these are great for putting on top of your cake and then putting your saran wrap on top so it doesn't take all your frosting off. I mean, everybody does that, don't they? When my girls were little, I used to save these little pie pans and put dry beans in them and then put another one on top, staple it, and they thought they had a tambourine. Boy, I had a couple gypsies running around the house. Now, when this bag of chips gets about down to here, and there aren't enough to eat or they're stale, I'm not going to throw them away. I'm going to put them in a sandwich bag. I'm going to roll them with my roller, and I'm going to have some topping that I can put on my tuna casserole or any other casseroles that I make. I mean, yeah, I do save my candles all the way down to the bottom, and then I remelt them to make new candles. If you go into someone's kitchen and they have leftover cottage cheese containers and sour cream containers and Kool Aid containers, they are probably a redneck. I don't know anybody who doesn't leave a paper towel in their Crisco so they can wipe their pans when they want to bake something and then just throw it back in there. I always save my eggshells for compost, and I make my own fertilizer. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here again today at Re-Written Vintage Homestead. I hope you're all doing great. I've had a rough couple of weeks with a bacterial infection in my lungs, and I've had a hard time shaking it. So I'm on antibiotics. I'm on some cough pills that I take, and I take cough medicine, and I've been getting plenty of rest. But boy, I haven't had much energy. And so during those times, that's when I go to my little Mother Hubbard's cupboard, and I start pulling out all of my books that I've saved through the years. And this one was really fun to reread, the Tightwad Gazette. It's by Amy Decision. Came out in 1998, I believe. It's actually 3 different books put together from Amy Decision's newsletter that she had. And she became popular back in the early 90s because she had created a newsletter that talked about frugality. Well, Phil Donahue, who had a talk show at that time, had picked this up somehow, had her on his show, and she went through some of the frugal things she and her family did to make it so that she could stay home, not have to work, could raise her children. They owned their home. They owned all their property. They had no debt. And so women just pounced on this and really started to run with it. And so this went on for quite a few years, and Amy compiled all of those tips into a big book that came out in the late 90s, which is the one that I have. And I love rummaging through this every now and then because I'll come across an idea I hadn't thought about in a while. And it really is a homesteader's book. So a lot of the ideas that are in the Tightwad Gazette, if you're watching my channel, I know that you and I have done many of them. And not so much to save money, although yes, we do it to save money, but it's just kind of who we are, waste not, want not. And trying to do things more imaginatively and more creatively. And so there's a lot of art projects in here for kids. There's a lot of recipes in here that talk about using things that you have in your cupboard, which is what we do. There's a really interesting, my favorite part is what would you do with? So simple things like egg cartons, rubber bands, tags that you get off of bread at the very end, milk cartons. Those things always stayed the same, and people would write in and say, you could do this, 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 and this. And so some things are very imaginative, and some are just downright silly. And, there's a fine line there between being frugal and saving money and being frugal and being ridiculous. So, if anything, I still enjoy this book to get a good laugh sometimes. But hey, I jumped right in the 90s. I was a mom, and I worked part time. My girls were little. I did many of these things. I still do. So I saved my pie pans for the garden to plant seeds in for all kinds of things. I saved my milk cartons. I save those to plant seeds in. I use them to water. I save my egg cartons and I make crafts out of them. I plant seeds in them. You know, I'm just trying to think of a few random things I've done over the years. I used to save my sandwich bags and I'd rinse those out, put them over the drainer and let them dry out and use them more than once. Made my own baby wipes. Used to take the paper towels, cut them in half, and use them to make those last longer. I've done it all. I've done it all. And I really like it because you're keeping things out of the landfill, you're watching your pennies, and you're just being a good steward. And so I really appreciate a lot of the ideas in here. But I thought we would go through a few that are still very relevant and a few that are not worth your time. There's a real interesting list that's called 10 Painless Ways to Save $100 This Year. And, you know, I refigured some things based on the times we're living in now and inflation. And boy, have they really changed. But the ideas in this list are still very good. So number one is purchase 10 articles of clothing at thrift shops and yard sales this year instead of paying department store prices. I can't even tell you when was the last time I bought something from the department store. This shirt I have on today, my daughter was going to donate to Goodwill, and I took it out of her bag. I go to Goodwill, I go to thrift stores, I go to garage sales. My daughter, like I said, my daughter, I go through her stuff before she donates it. I just very rarely, maybe once at the beginning of the summer, I may go get a couple pairs of shorts or capri pants for work, something like that. But I'm not one of those once a month I have to have a new outfit kind of girl. Number two is hang 4 loads of laundry per week instead of using your dryer, which there is nothing that smells better than clothes and sheets that are hung outside. Oh, I just love the sweet smell of them. I don't have a clothesline here where I live, but I always did when my girls were little. And boy, I sure miss it. But that could save a lot of money on your power bill. Number 3 is once a month, make a pizza from scratch instead of having one delivered. Well, they were saying if you did that for 12 months, you would save $100. Now the cost of a delivery pizza is $30. So for 3 months, you could save $100 as opposed to 12 months back then. Write a good letter instead of making a monthly long distance phone call. Well, now we have email and text. So we really don't spend the money on postage stamps that we used to. Number 5 is reduce your soda consumption by 4 cans per week. I'm always striving to reduce my soda consumption, and I suck at it. I'm going to be honest. That's one thing I can say I am addicted to is Diet Coke, and I fight it all the time. I try to drink more water. I try to stay more hydrated because I get sick if I don't. But boy, we should always be trying to reduce those cola products. They're better for us, and we'd save a lot of money. Number 6 is bake 1 batch of bread, 2 loaves per week. You guys, I don't really know if that's a real money saver. Now, I love homemade bread, and I make homemade bread quite often. I don't think it's a money saver. You can get a loaf of bread for, what, $1.25? And by the time you get your flour, your oil, your yeast, your sugar, all of the ingredients, I think it's going to be a little more costly to bake your bread, not to mention your time, than it is just while you're at the store to buy a loaf for $1.25. So, you know, use what works for you and really think things through when you're making decisions on where to save money. Number 7, save $50 each on 2 children's birthday parties by making homemade decorations, cake, wrapping paper, and 1 present. Now, I will agree with this. When my girls were little, we had our birthday themed parties, and I would make the decorations. I made the cake. We would plan games. They don't do that anymore. Now it's you take them to a big event. You have to rent out a skating rink. You have to rent out a trampoline park. You have to rent out, some huge venue. And it's just ridiculous. And the kids won't even remember it 2 or 3 years down the road. But yet you're probably still going to be paying for the gifts, the decorations, the invitations. Um, it's just way over the top. That's how I feel about a lot of things, from birthday parties to reveals. Gender reveals for babies, I think, are ridiculous. um, Weddings, wedding showers, engagement parties, all of these things are so over the top this year. And let's not forget asking someone to prom or to a dance. How much parents are investing now for their high school kids to ask someone to a dance is I can't. I can't. Okay. All right, number 8. Reduce your smoking by 3 cigarettes per day or give up smoking altogether and save even more. I'm going to be honest here. I was a smoker. I was a big smoker when this book came out in the 90s. And I haven't smoked now in probably 22 years. But boy, when I think about the money that my husband and I spent on cigarettes, I don't know how people are doing it today. So let's look at inflation. So in 2024, a carton of cigarettes on average is $86.28. That means they're $8.63 a pack, and there's 20 cigarettes in a pack. That means they are 43 cents each. If you gave up 3 a day, that would be $1.29. And if you did that every day this year, you would save $470.85, not to mention your lungs. Try to quit if you can, you guys. I know it's hard. It was terribly, terribly hard for me. Luckily, my health clinic, they had a number you could call. There were support people there that would help talk you through any anxiety or panic you were having at the time. They would give you alternatives, things you could do with your hands to keep busy and motivated. And there are also supplements that you can take that make the withdrawal easier. So get serious about that, not only for your health, but to save some money. Number 9 is reduce your whole milk consumption by 2 gallons per week by substituting dry milk in cooking, making homemade cocoa mix, and half and half for drinking. Okay, well, yeah, that's true. If you can cut down your vitamin D milk, that would be a good thing. I never liked the taste of powdered milk myself. I could go to skim milk, but skim milk is not that much cheaper than the vitamin D milk. But I can get milk now for $2.50 a carton. So that's $5 a week if I get 2 cartons. And if I would cut that back, that would be a savings of $260 a year instead of $100 a year compared to this list in the 90s. So you might want to think about that. I know it's hard if you have little kids at home, but if you can switch to an alternative somehow instead of the whole vitamin D milk, you could save some money there. Number 10 is pack 4 inexpensive school lunches per week. I always did that. Now, my kids, they would go through the menu and they would pick maybe 1 or 2 days they wanted to eat hot lunch. But the rest of the time, I made their lunches. And we're going to talk about lunches here in a minute, but the lunches were homemade. They weren't junk food. Now, here's some good ideas that I had forgotten about, so I'm glad I marked these. This is what to do with a milk jug. To make a great berry picking basket, cut the top off of a gallon-sized jug, put a strip of rope or cloth through the handle, and tie it on your waist. It can also be used to carry clothespins or nails, but when you're out berry picking, you just flip it over, tie it to your belt, drop your berries in. I thought that was a really good idea. So Amy's decision was fantastic about drawing charts and figuring things down to the penny and doing research. And one of the things she did was she drew a lunchbox here, and she put in the lunchbox what her kids' friends, what they had in their lunchboxes, and figured up the prices of everything. So in her lunchbox, she had sun-kissed fun fruit dinosaurs, 33 cents or 4 cents per dinosaur. There was Mott's apple grape juice pack for 33 cents. There was a Del Monte fruit cup, and those were 43 cents. Doritos snack size bag of chips, those were 29 cents at that time. And then Tom's peanut butter cheese crackers, which were a quarter. So the total cost of that lunch in the 90s was $1.63. So I went on the Walmart shopping site and got everything almost exactly that she had in her lunchbox here. And at today's prices, for the dinosaurs, you get 6 for $14.97, a package of 6 for $14.97. So that comes to $2.50 each. The juice packs, those you get now, they are $5.02. So they come to 42 cents each. The fruit cups are now 12 fruit cups for $7.98, so 67 cents each. The Doritos snack size are now 18 pack for $9.98, so that's 55 cents each. And the Tom's peanut butter cheese crackers, I couldn't find Tom's, but I found Lance. Those are 8 for $3.48, so those are 44 cents each. So what cost $1.63 in the 90s now costs $5.02 today. So if you can think of a sandwich, some vegetables, some fruit, use reusable little cups that you can put your fruits and your vegetables and your dips in. Homemade cookies, homemade cake, homemade sweets. If you can figure that out, you're going to save a lot of money. Another good idea was, as a first grade teacher, I have been interested in putting together a collection of puppets. But at $10 to $30 a piece, the costs seem prohibitive. I found a solution by buying stuffed animals at yard sales and thrift stores, making 4-inch incisions in the bellies or the rear ends and taking the stuffing out. Puppets seem to have far more play value than stuffed animals do. That's a great idea that I would have totally done when the girls were little. They loved to do the imaginary play. So maybe you could go to a garage sale. Sometimes stuffed animals are like 10 cents at Goodwill. Now here's something I've always done, and I forgot about it, is my husband and I use inexpensive hair conditioner in place of shaving cream. I've never bought shaving cream. I've always used my hair conditioner. A little bit goes a long way, and it does not dry your skin out like soap often does. That's a great idea. Give it a try. Okay, so now let's talk about some of these ideas that border on being psychotic. Okay. Number 1, we save the rinse water from one load of laundry and use it in the wash cycle for the next load. We plug the wash tub while the rinse cycle drains and then bail it into the washer for the next load. Our water bill has gone from $90 to $41. I can't imagine every time washing clothes to run in there, stop it, bail all that water out, put it back in later for something else. It's just not worth your time. The turkey netting, the netting that is attached to your turkey on Thanksgiving, wash it, run an old shoelace through it several spaces down. Use it to keep bath toys so they will drip dry. Number 1, to me, that is gross because any kind of foul you can get salmonella from if you don't get it completely clean. But let's say it's spotless clean. It's going to make your tub look dirty. You've got a net there that everybody knows came out of the Thanksgiving dinner. It's just too much. Here's a good one. Make brightly colored wire jewelry from wires in your telephone cables. Scout around at construction sites or ask the phone company for scraps. Cut 12-inch pieces with scissors. Make a loop on one end. Start wrapping the wire to build up the middle. Make a second loop with the last 3/4 inch, burying the end. Take another wire and make a loop and attach to the first wire. I can't. If you've got time to go to construction sites looking for wire to make jewelry out of, you've got too much time on your hands. This one, I could just see my kids. I could just see my kids' faces. We find that instead of using highly perfumed and expensive room fresheners such as Airwick or Glade, we can easily get rid of unpleasant odors by lighting a match. So just, you know what? Go in your living room, light a match. In your kitchen, light a match to get rid of that onion smell. Number one, how wasteful. How about you burn a candle? You burn a candle or you spray some Lysol. It's not that expensive. I thought this next one was hilarious. Used for a salad spinner, put a dish towel in the bottom of a plastic grocery bag. Shake loose the water from the greens and place in the bag. Whirl the bag 10 revolutions over your hair like a cowgirl. Yee-haw! And then your greens will be nice and dry. And I really think you need to figure out how much your time is worth. Okay? Now, there are some home crafts. There are some people that are just so talented, at putting things together. And someone would not mind getting that for a birthday or a Christmas gift. But then there's other things that are just downright tacky. Now, this person suggests that when you have peaches, oranges, apples, lemons, limes, that you save the pits and you rinse those off. And after collecting a large number, you wash them well and you soak them in bleach and then rinse. The pits are then glued to a sanded circle of a 1/4 inch plywood using Elmer glue. Before beginning the gluing, plan a design using the different colors and textures of the pits. Do you think anyone in your family, anyone, would love a wreath made out of pits? I can't even imagine what it would look like, and it's just not worth your time. And they're going to be calling you a lot of things other than a tightwad if you give them that for Christmas. So you guys, let me know some of the frugal things that you've done throughout your homemaking life that has saved you some money and that are great ideas, but they're also worth your time and your effort. And I encourage you to get the Tightwad Gazette. You can still get it on Amazon. You'll keep it forever because it's got some wonderful ideas, but like I said, it's got some really funny ones too. And you'll be able to tell the ones that have really changed because of inflation and the cost of living. But it's always great to get out these old books and come up with new ideas and to keep yourself on track. So like, subscribe, and share if you like this episode, guys. It was great talking to you, and thanks for letting me come back and see you this week, even with a sore throat and a bad cough. And I can't wait to see you again.